Scientific Temperaments by Dr. Rajendra Mahamuni. Dr. Rajendra Mahamuni is director at Muktangan Science Accelerator, Pune, and he was with Ferguson College. He was a faculty. The scientific temperament needs to be nurtured, and current education system doesn't allow to do that. And that's how the Accelerator has born. They create and try to nurture the scientific temperament amongst the students. Of course, the scientific temperament, not only students, practically everyone can have. And you should have curiosity about science and whatnot. So Dr. Mahamuni is going to explain how they nurture STEM education and scientific temperament among the students at Muktangan Science Exploratory, and how this will be benefited for the nation building. Because after 1940, we did not get any Nobel Prize. We don't have any Nobel laureates now. After C.V. Raman, there is nobody. And responsible is our education system, which is designed and developed by Macaulay just to generate the clerks for British India. And we have not done much. Recently, they have modified it for the good, but I don't know the success of it, because the people who are going to handle that, they are all old. So with this basic input, without spending much time, I will leave the floor to Dr. Rajendra Mahamuni to share with us about scientific temperament and how it can be nurtured. So over to Dr. Rajendra Mahamuni. And friends, Tech Forum, we have such Tech Talk every fortnight. Tech Forum is 6 months old. I request you to join, because very shortly we will be registering this Tech Forum. We will share the details. We have also planned a members get together on 15th of January, 5 to 7 p.m. at Damle Hall basement on Law College Road. So please do join us and share your thoughts and exchange the information. So I will give the microphone to Dr. Mahamuni to start his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilas ji. Good morning, all my friends. So I'll be discussing the scientific temperament, scientific attitude, scientific method, and how Exploratory Science Center is actually practicing these scientific methods, has a well-developed scientific temper and a good scientific attitude. All this will be discussed in this presentation. So I'll explain what scientific temper actually means. It is a scientific temper is, just a minute. It points out the way along. Arundhati, हे बंद कसं करायचं? Yes. The scientific temper points out the way along which man should travel. It is the temper of a free man. So this is how scientific temper was defined by our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. And it's very important because it's a temper of a free man. And being free is not easy. It should be free of all shackles that you can have in a society. And our constitution has defined this as our constitutional duty. The Article 51AH specifies that it shall be the duty of every Indian citizen to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. So this is very important to know and realize that our constitution by default makes this mandate for every citizen of India that you should develop, inculcate the scientific temper. So let us move on and see what exactly one should mean. It basically is an attitude of logical, rational, and scientific thinking. This is very important because if you don't think rationally, if you don't think logically, you'll end up in trouble. So this is something. This is one way of explaining what scientific temper would be. And if you have a scientific temper, that means you employ a scientific method for taking some decision. It would be a very simple decision like how to cross a road, or maybe whether I should do something today or whether I should postpone it, or I should have done it earlier. So this is what exactly, in very simple terms, this is what scientific temper is. And it basically involves observing a few things around and verifying the fact before you come to some conclusion or before you develop any hypothesis. Now, why it is important? Why should people in general have scientific temperament? Why a society like Indian society should have scientific temperament? It's good for a progressive society that is free of superstitions and irrational practices. This is something which is observed in our society, which of course, it's getting reduced. People are trying to come out of it, but then it's also good for political, economic, and social development of the nation. It also helps promoting tolerance among people for different thoughts and ideas. This is very important because if you look at the history of science, how ideas evolved, there were many ideas, even people like Galileo or Newton have suffered a lot of resistance because the society at that time was not tolerant to their ideas. So this is very important part of scientific temperament. Now, how do you develop scientific temperament among children? Because if you don't develop scientific temperament among children at that small age, then the society as a whole will not develop into a society with scientific mindset. So it really starts at home. It's said that charity begins at home. In the same tone, I would say that scientific temper also begins at home. You create a pro-science home. So your house should have, you need not to create any facilities, but you should encourage your children to think critically. If the child is doing some experiment, it could be a very simple experiment like say writing with pen or chalk on wall. Then you can support that child by having a board or a specific place on the wall for doing his chalk work or board work or whatever you call it. So you should also provide enough opportunities when a child learns. You can have some electronic devices which include some games. You can encourage a child to ask questions. This is very important because we normally tend to prevent that child from asking any questions. And if you don't allow your child to ask any questions, naturally your child will not grow as a well-developed adult. At the same time, if you allow that child to ask questions, the child can think critically about something and then he can develop good problem solving skills, and also his IQ, his or her IQ can also develop into a good number. Now, this brings us to the next part of this scientific temperament. Scientific attitude is basically, it is a desire to know and understand, questioning to all statements, search for data and the meaning of data, search for verification and consideration of consequences. So this basically is, every human being has some scientific attitude in his or her mind. Because if you look at something, for example, you take off uh, early humans might have seen some fruit, or maybe they might have seen something which they feel like eating. Now you just cannot eat any fruit of your choice, of whatever you see. So you can just think about it, whether I can eat it, what will happen to me if I eat, or what will happen if I don't eat this. So all these questions are there. So this is basically a scientific attitude, but there are specific ways in which you can inculcate scientific attitude in your own mind or even in the society. So what exactly is scientific attitude? Is basically curiosity. This is a very basic, I would say it's a basic instinct of any human being or even animal. So you are just curious, something is lying on a road or maybe something lying on a table, you go somewhere, you see something new, and you are curious, what's happening there. At the same time, you should be honest. It's you, whatever you see, whatever you observe should be recorded, maybe as a with a pen and pencil, or maybe in your mindset, it should be honestly recorded. You should not put your own opinions on that observation. You should be objective. You should be continually doing all that. You should be open to suggestions, open to criticism, At the same time, you can be critical. As I mentioned earlier, you can be asking questions. You should be responsible for what you do or what you'll be saying. And of course, these things go on. This is not a complete list. These are just a few issues that one should have. Now, what exactly is scientific method? It's a process for experimentation that is used to explore observations and answer questions. Now, this is very important because it's a process. That means there are certain steps, there are certain ways in which you can go through that process. Now, when you carry an experiment, it can be a very complicated experiment that scientists do in a laboratory, or maybe a group of scientists does in a laboratory, or it can be very simple experiment like making tea in your kitchen. Remember, look at this process or look at this recipe of making tea in kitchen. It's not as simple as one thinks, because uh, as a routine, we are used to make tea. But if you have to tell somebody else to make tea in your house, then there are many steps involved: how to locate the containers, how to put the fire on, and so on and so forth. So this is an experiment that you need to observe. Many things need to be observed, and maybe you'll get some questions. You need to find the answers, and all this basically is part of that scientific method. Let us see what exactly are the steps involved in a scientific method. I mentioned earlier that you should ask questions. And what are those questions that you should ask, or you should be prepared to ask? You seek answer to these questions. This is a very well-known set of questions. It is known as 5 W's and 1 H. So those 5 W's are what, when, who, which, why, where, and the last one is how. So this is something which will lead you to many more questions. And then if you find answers, you are just going through the first step. Ask some questions, try to find those answers. Maybe you can find answers on your own, or maybe you can take somebody's help to find out those answers. And at the same time, you have to do some background research. You have to find information which is already available, maybe in literature, or maybe you can talk to your colleagues, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your relatives. They might be in a position to answer your question. Now, why you should do this background research? This is important because maybe when you're doing some experiment, you are likely to do some mistakes. But if somebody else has done a similar experiment, he or she might help you in avoiding those mistakes, and your experiment will be more or less without any mistakes or lesser mistakes, or at the worst, it can have new mistakes, which might be a learning experience for other researchers. Now, when you do all this, when you go through the first two steps, you have to develop or construct a hypothesis. It's basically a guess about how things work. So you have to find some answers, and in the process of finding the answers, you will develop a good hypothesis, which you will be testing by actually doing your experiment. So for example, you have let us take that example of making tea. So when you put, say, one spoonful of sugar in that, how sweet it would be, whether it will be sweet to your satisfaction, or it will be lesser, or it will be more. So this would be a very simple hypothesis, and then you do that experiment, you prepare that tea, and then test it. So in the same way, you plan some experiment. That planning is part of the hypothesis, or hypothesis is a part of that planning. You do that experiment, carry that experiment out. You expect some results. Those results may or may not be according to the hypothesis that you are proposing. And maybe if it suits, or if it's compatible with your hypothesis, then your hypothesis and experiment is good. If it gives you some other results, some unexpected results, even that is not a failure. Remember, it is not a failure. It is some new result or new observation that you have made, which your hypothesis has not predicted. And if you go some unexpected outcomes or unexpected observations. Now, when you get the observations, when you have the data, when you have the numbers, you have to analyze that. And when you analyze this data or analyze your information, then you have to take help of your hypothesis and then come to some conclusion. This conclusion may not be what your hypothesis is anticipating, but it may be a different conclusion, but that will be some conclusion. And once you get this conclusion, definitely you would like to share this with your colleagues, maybe friends or family or society. So this, the whole scientific method will conclude or will be over or will be complete when you communicate the results to others. So this cartoon explains. I don't trust any scientific laws. I don't believe in any scientific law. I'll try to understand those scientific laws. Or I try to understand, for example, Newton's law. I have to understand how biology works. I'll understand how a chemical reaction is actually carried out. So I don't trust, I don't believe, I don't just believe without any asking any question. So science is basically questioning, and science gives you a liberty of asking questions to science itself. For example, if you think of the Newton's scientific contribution, then even that contribution was questioned by a great mind like Einstein, and then an entirely new science has evolved out of those questions. So there is nothing that prevents you from asking questions to anybody, and that's very interesting part of science, scientific method, scientific attitude, and scientific temperament. Now this brings us to an entirely new issue that we all are facing, and that is 21st century. It's began, say maybe it's the second decade, almost end of the second decade, where we are all going through a very bad phase of our life, I would say, and that is the pandemic. But then this is a very big challenge. But besides this, there are many other challenges that teachers in general are facing all over. So I mentioned this as 21st century challenges, which we need to overcome. So basically, these are most of these are result of the new technology that has evolved. Learning earlier was sort of a community sort of learning. So you had a class of maybe 5, 10, or maybe 50, or in the colleges, some colleges have a big class, 120 students or of that order. So this was a sort of social learning or a common learning, or I would say it was a shared learning. But nowadays, it's become very, very personal. Learning style of students has changed. Almost every student has one or the other gadget in his or her hand. You have a mobile phone, maybe you have a laptop and whatnot, and you can select what you want to learn. And that's something which you have to face. It's a challenge that you have to overcome. As a teacher, you should also know how to use technology, and this technology will help you in meeting the students' needs. I record my lecture and then I make it available on a variety of media where students can access it. That's the need of students, because students may be busy with something else. And remember, students may not be of maybe whatever specific age. You can have a younger student, you can have elderly students. So that's the requirement, that's the need of students, and you should try to make use of the right technology to satisfy the needs of those students. Now, classroom management has become a great challenge. Challenge in the sense it's not just monitoring people, it's not herding students in a class, because the classroom dynamics has changed. Earlier, it was just one-way communication. The teacher used to come to the class and maybe deliver his or her lecture, and that's it. Once the bell goes, the teacher also leaves the class. Now it's not, it's changed. It's all changed because our values have changed. Our values, I would say, our values have evolved. People are more and more free. They like asking questions. The students participate actively in your classes. Now, every child needs to feel important in the class. Every child needs to be respected. And these are the challenges you have to overcome. And for this, of course, we can make a friendly atmosphere in the class. You can have open environment, and this will help you develop your class in a good way. Curriculums are also, I would say, they are challenging because curriculum is equally dynamic. Every student has a different need, and every student feels like getting satisfied through the class or through whatever way you're delivering your lectures or classroom sections. And it's the scenario where the students dictate or students have said demand what they would like to learn, and you have to design your curriculum according to the requirement of students. So you should understand what skills students are required, what skills they are demanding, and accordingly you can design or you need to design a student centric curriculum so that the learning process is comfortable for students. Society in general has become globally aware. So even the teachers need to be globally aware. And this is very important because it is like a global village. So if uh, a student is familiar with anything happening in the different places, then your teacher should be prepared with all that. Now this takes us to 21st century skills. This is something which is being discussed, which is being practiced all over. This is, remember, this is not the only list. This list can be changed. This list can be extended, or this list can be also shortened. So as far as I have thought of this 21st century skills, is the three L's: learning skills, literacy skills, life skills. Then there are four C's: critical thinking, creativity and innovation, collaboration, and of course, communication with others. Then you have this IMT, information literacy. These are different literacies, of course. It's information literacy, media literacy, and technology literacy. So this is all important because information literally relates to what information you should collect and how you should collect, what you should reject. All that is part of information literacy. Media literacy, there are so many media platforms. You can just mention a few, such as say Facebook, it could be WhatsApp, it could be Instagram. There would be many more platforms that could evolve. And then a student or even a teacher or society in general should be literate about these media. One should be aware how to handle this media because there are pros and cons of all medias. And of course, technology literacy is very important. You cannot survive without being tech savvy. At least you should be familiar with technology. Even handling a device like a mobile phone or maybe a laptop or even handling your vehicle is very much involved with technology. Now, flips is something where you should be flexible and adaptable. This is very true for any human being. If you are in a different environment, you should be flexible and adapt to the new situation or the new environment. Leadership and responsibility, this is again something which the new generation or the young generation should be trained to. Leadership is not just leading a group of people. It is even an individual can be leader on his or her own because it's taking decisions, it's taking responsibilities. Next is initiative and self-direction. Self-direction, I would say it is self-discipline. Initiative, you have to do something, then you have to take initiative and go ahead with. Of course, with there are so many factors involved, and then that is possible only if you have some self-direction or self-discipline. Productivity and accountability is of course there. Then you should have social and cross-cultural interaction. This is very important these days because it's a mixing of so many cultures all over, not only in India or not only in a particular country. It's all over. So this is mostly because technology has advanced. There are so many social media platforms one can access, and then this has actually this is one of the skills that one should try to learn, or if you are a teacher, one should try to teach to your students. Now, this is something which the government of India has planned to implement next year, that is 2022. And this is just a gist of the new education policy. Actually, the correct way of mentioning that is National Education Policy 2020. It was proposed in 2020, and then these are a few features. The pattern is read thought about. So it was 10 plus 2 previously. Now that total of 12 is now 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this is basically involving children at early stage. So you start training or start getting a young kid, a small kid into the mainstream right from beginning. Even a toddler would be in a class some way, and then a very interesting feature is it's a multi-stream uh, proposal. So you can choose any stream of your choice. The state boards or maybe the education boards would be in a way diluted to some extent. You can have up to almost 8 standard you can learn in your own language or mother tongue. You need not carry any baggage, no books. More stress is given for vocational training. Up to 12th standard, there will be no distinction like we have arts, commerce, science. They will be all together. After 12th standard, they will take an exam like a SAT for entrance in a college or entry in a college. Then, of course, bachelor's degree would be a 4 year, which nowadays is 3 years. So many changes are there. This is just a few. Uh, these are just a few features that I have found should be discussed. So, new education policy is really a good way uh, of putting education in society. Now, having discussed all this, what role uh, an institute or organization like Exploratory plays in society? It has a big role to play. It has survived. It has been there for almost 30 years. And let us see what we are doing here and how we have uh, played our role in society. So this was started in 1992. Our founder was Dr. V.G. Bide. He was a ex-vice chancellor of Pune University, and he had a very visionary plan to implement. And it's a very unique science education center for young children. It's for generating excitement to explore and understand world around. And this is world around is you explore nature, you start looking around and you'll see some plants, you find what type of leaves it has, what type of flowers it has. So that's how it begins here in Exploratory. We naturally and we obviously develop scientific temperament amongst young kids right from the early age. We inculcate scientific attitude, and we also help students and help young children build, learn, and develop scientific skills and scientific abilities. Our mission is to arouse curiosity in young minds, stimulate learning of basic concepts through hands-on experimentation and applications in daily life. Hands-on experimentation is our, I would say, USP, because there are very few places where you'll allow a child to do some experiment with his or her own way. The way a child learns is by doing something. And here is a place, the Exploratory, where a child can do anything that he or she wants. So we basically allow a child to explore, to invent, and to innovate. So unless a child does anything by hand, these three core values cannot be maintained. So we try to achieve these in a variety of ways. We work in a way in on support of two pillars. One of that is Science Center. It's a sort of flagship for our center. Other is the Innovation Hub. Scientific temper is nurtured by a variety of activities through Science Center and of course through the Innovation Hub as well. Now let us have a quick look. Okay, we emphasize on building curiosity, developing scientific skills, nurturing innovative and creative abilities, encouraging exploration and experimentation. Let us have a quick look at Exploratory.
Muktangan Exploratory, a unit of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, is the distinctive science center in Pune. The center aspires to stimulate curiosity and arouse science learning in all age groups, students, teachers, community in general. The center is working incessantly in innovative science education since past 3 decades. Children from various schools are encouraged to experience science by performing experiments and activities in well-equipped state-of-the-art laboratories instead of formal learning. Here, the children learn to explore and experiment, design and fabricate, invent and innovate. This is highly beneficial in their conceptual understanding of the precepts of the various science disciplines. In addition to this, to empower children with 21st century skills, Exploratory started Innovation Hub in 2018 with support from National Council of Science Museums, Kolkata, a central government body. Under Innovation Hub, we promote DIY culture, equip children with essential life skills, provide opportunity to nurture new ideas, provide support for prototyping development of technical and problem-solving skills. Definitely, there is a need of having small basic science laboratory in every school, especially in schools where children do not get an opportunity to perform experiments due to unavailability of equipment. Science should be learned by doing it. Children should get an experiential learning of science.
So these were some activities in the exploratory. जरा हे कसं करायचं? नाही पण आता ते प्ले करायचं आहे. So these are some activities that children do in our center. You can see the excitement on their face. See how they're enjoying all the things that are doing with their own hands. See how curious they are, and see the satisfaction on their faces that they have built something, they have done something, and it really works. And it's just not a very, it's not a one-day job. They have gone through all the process, all the stages of learning, doing something new, and enjoying it. So enjoyment is something which is missing from our classrooms, and we here at Exploratory provide precisely that enjoyment of doing something scientifically, learning something, and learning to learn is something that students will learn here in Exploratory. These are some more activities that you can see. And again, see the excitement, see how children are involved, grossly involved in all the activities. So how do we get to this? We have a variety of programs. Our flagship program is this yearly program, which generally starts from June to it ends on the last day of February, the 20th February, the National Science Day. And it's divided into 5 levels from 5th standard to 9th and 10th standard. So this is what we have in the foundation courses. We also have a slightly different way of delivering these courses. Module 1 is experimenter, where students do some predefined experiments on their own. Then we have explorer module, which is interdisciplinary. A certain activity involves almost all disciplines of science. We have again a third module, which is innovator, where students are encouraged to do a small project, which will be either research based or it will be some problem solving project, problem solving activity. So this is basically our a flagship program. We also train students for Homi Bhabha examination, Homi Bhabha Young Scientist examination. We teach them in theoretical as well as practical courses. We have again, these are some more activities students enjoy here at Exploratory. There are some other courses, creative science. This is something which we have recently started. It's for junior students, 3rd and 4th standard, where they enjoy science, they enjoy some fun, they do some fun experiments, and they are engaged so that they learn something unknowingly. As you grow, you learn something with some intention, but this is a subconscious learning, I would say. Joy of Science again is a very interesting activity where students are involved in doing something again on their own, and it's for 3 days, usually in winter. A SciTalk series is a series for people in general. It's a series of talks by eminent speakers on a variety of topics, issues related to society, issues related to technology, how technology is evolved. And this year we had a series which was based on 75 years of independence, or Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So the eminent speakers which are invited to give talks in this series, where they took stock of how India has developed through 75 years and what is the future of India maybe in 20-25 years down the line. This is another activity we have, Innovation Hub, and let us have a quick look again at Innovation Hub. So that was Innovation Hub, and this is where we innovate, we train young mind to be an entrepreneur, a technocrat, technically and technologically evolved mind is developed in Innovation Hub. It's a new activity. It's just 3 years old, and we are also learning at the Innovation Hub. We are learning from the children, from their parents, and a variety of activities are uh, going on, and a number of activities are also planned through the Innovation Hub. As initially mentioned by Vilasji, this is where we practice the STEM and the STEAM activities. This is a new concept that is evolved or that is being practiced all over the world. STEM is for science, technology, electronics, and mathematics. And STEAM is adding A to that, that is arts. So it is science, technology, electronics, arts, and mathematics. So what is this? These are normally the subjects that are taught in a school. The science is not only physics, it's not only chemistry, or it's not only mathematics. It's all over. This STEM activities or STEAM activities are the activities where all these are integrated in one activity. For example, if you are spinning a top, a lot of science is involved in it. For example, if, as a child, we all have played with that wooden top, and it had a nail in it, and there was a very interesting game when we were children. You break the other's top by using your top, which is spinning. You hold that spinning top on your palm. Now, many things are involved in this. So all that is basically a STEAM activity. Your top should look good. It should spin for a long time. It should be stable. All this involves science. It should not hurt you. So that is again where a different type of science is involved. So such activities are encouraged here in Innovation Hub, so that a child knows a particular issue from all angles. So that is how we train children here in Innovation Hub. So it's basically we equip children with essential life skills. We nurture their ideas. We help them prototyping, and many things are happening in Innovation Hub. Now we have two basic programs. One is a regular program where we have basic and advanced foundation courses. We have workshop where children are encouraged to use the workshop facilities that you have seen in the clip. We also have a robotics club. We have a problem-based project development. For special programs, we have very unique. Say you all must have heard or at least be aware of that ATL, that is Atal Tinkering Lab. This was a project supported by Dassault Systems, and we are still working on that. It's a project running for a long time. It will help the nation. So in a way, we are part of nation building. ATL Lab is something which we are very much involved in a big way. Now, in summary, I would say Muktangan Exploratory has made great strides in innovative science education since 1992. It's almost 30 years. We have gained vital know-how and experience in experiential learning. We also help, we also benefit students at large, and we have played a vital role in inculcating scientific attitude and spreading scientific temperament in society. So this is a small contribution from our side to the development of nation, or the nation building, I would say. Thank you very much all for patient listening. If anybody has any questions, I'm open to questions or discussions.
Thank you, Dr. Rajendra Mahamuni, for wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I think learned.
Session is on for question answers. If any question answers, please stop.
Yeah, visited this lab few months back and do not miss anything. But we will go ahead with the question and answer session.
Yes.
So please identify your name and ask the question.
Hello, I want to ask questions.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Myself, Professor Mehta.
Good
I'm
morning.
in teaching engineering college since 1970.
Okay.
And your activities are of course very nice, but these days or last 20 years, I am observing one thing.
Mhm,
The attention towards mathematics, physics is almost nil.
mhm,
And most of them, I mean, at least the upper elites, maybe better students of the half, they
mhm.
are attracted towards software and all the activities.
Right,
So
right.
practically doing any experimental thing is
Mhm,
almost nil. Most of them are interested only in software.
mhm.
Mathematics is neglected totally. Physics is out of question,
Yes,
and
yes.
hardly anybody is doing any table work. And motivating them for doing any work is difficult because they get very good jobs in software industry,
Mhm,
almost 3-4 times the package what people go for core engineering.
mhm,
So how these things will improve, sir? And another thing, side question is
mhm,
that in villages, all these things are very remote dream for all these people. So I'm from village. I know what happens there, but
mhm.
nothing is possible there. Primary education itself is in doldrum. So what
Yeah,
about all those things? That is my two questions.
okay. Regarding your first question, it's basically, I would say it's a social pressure to get good money, and good money comes, as of now, it comes only through software companies. But if you actually see the scene in software industry, not everybody gets that good of money. Very few people get those celebrated packages. So that is one thing. And at some time, I think it is high time society realizes that just making a program or writing some software instructions will not help developing a society. Somebody has to produce, somebody has to manufacture. Only then society can progress. So the time has come where society realizes this, and then people will again start not exactly getting back, but they'll start turning to the sort of conventional engineering, conventional technology, and maybe conventional way of living in a way. Coming to a second question about how this can be made available to say interior areas or rural areas. See, we are planning some activities for distant schools, and since last 2 years of pandemic, we have experimental and successfully experimented with the online activities. We are working on that. There are definitely some solutions which can work with uh, these type of issues. Yes, that is possible.
Just last question, sir. Not
Yes,
question, but observation only.
yes,
That
yes.
you said social pressure, but unfortunately, the parents, management is interested in getting high campus packages
Packages,
because
right.
of the advertisement problem,
Yeah.
and students are happy with high packages. So somebody getting 45 lakh rupees packages in the first year, I mean
Mhm.
first joining,
Yeah.
how I can tell others ki bhai now you try to do some physical project activity? It is impossible for me to convince the students.
Yes. So when you mention a huge package like 45 or 50 lakhs per annum, but then if you really see the breakdown, how much money you can take home,
No,
that is
that is,
something
but
that is
sir,
something
that
that is
amount is
Uh,
very attractive amount. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Okay, sir, I will
wa-
call back.
with permission of both of you, I
Uh,
wanted to share a real value and experience on this platform. I am running IT company for more than
Yes.
25 years, and sorry,
yes, yes.
nowadays from last couple of years, students wants to work in a mid-size or small-size company. They are ignoring big IT companies straightly. It's a considerable reactions we were surprised to see, and they told that we got real life experience in small companies for practical advantages. So I think the students are started understanding on their own. We don't have to tell anything because that's we are experience from industry side. And Satish Mehta sir, this is a really practically true things happening in the industry for many of them. Of course, it is not highlighted widely in the media or somewhere, so it may not reach to the industry or the academia. What are the students liking and what they are doing at the background. Thank you, sir. I hope I have answered from industry
Yes,
side.
sir. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. I'll answer your question, Satish ji. Regarding the parents, the real target of developing a child is not the child himself or herself, but the parent. So I personally feel that parents should be taken through some counseling sessions, and we are working on such areas where there will be special sessions of counseling the parents, and not only counseling, but there will be some activities designed only for parents so that they come to know what exactly is learning in a new way. It's a 21st century learning. So we are planning even that. So as you rightly mentioned, parents are very much involved in the whole process, but they need to be counseled through.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Sir, for this, we have one Mr. Vijay Khate, who has worked in hardware as well as software industry. Probably hearing his comment will be valuable. Mr. Vijay Khate to comment.
Both Professor Mehta really spoke about a real challenge.
Namaskar, Ghate, sir.
Namaskar. We know each other for a very long time. Professor Mehta taught
79
me for 1 year.
1970.
Yeah, you taught me for 1 year. I know.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm finding these days is even the type of people we get in software industry, they actually don't know, they don't have scientific thinking.
Yes, sir.
So how to analyze the situation, how to solve problems, I think that is something that they don't know. And they're just not good enough to work on really worthwhile complex software problems also, most of them. So in that context, one slide that Professor Mahamuni presented, I really liked. There are 2 points that he mentioned. Arouse curiosity
Yes.
and encourage learning. I think that is the crux. And if this is really practiced, this is really understood, and this is spread over a large spectrum of people, large spectrum of society, somehow, I think then a lot of things can happen. Education policy is fine, also syllabus is fine, but I don't think these things achieve really anything. How teaching happens, what do you teach, and how do you teach? I think that is important. So, for example, in school, mostly we learn subjects. And we are taught to give answers to questions.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are never taught how to learn. And we are never taught how to ask questions. I think that is, if more and more educational institutions and teachers are aware and they become aware of these things, I think things will go right. It will take a long time. It is not easy to change society. We can keep telling things to society, but it is very difficult to tell anybody to accept lower salary for doing things that you like. There are very few people who do that. So I think these are the issues. But I think I see a good start and awareness. So I think 2 things. I'll tell you my experience. My son, when he was young, there were people who used to sell that knowledge encyclopedia, whatever it is, the 10 volumes, and they used to look very good on bookshelves. So that is why people used to buy it mostly. And the people used to make an appointment, and they told me, yes, any question that your son has, he was young, I think at the time, 5th or 6th standard, any question that your son has, this set of books will give answers to that. Now, this is not true, because books don't give answers to your questions. You have to find them yourselves. And find where to find answers was not an issue. So I told him, I'm not interested in giving a ready-made bunch of nonsense. I am interested in teaching him how to ask questions. That's one example. Second issue that we face in industry, and we face also probably in education institutions, is by the time a student goes to real life industry or real life situations, if he has only learned things in the school, then those things are no more relevant because there are new things happening, there are new things expected. So how to learn new things? How to learn basics is of course important, but how to learn new things, I think that is important in my opinion. If that is taught in the schools, and like sir, you have said in that particular slide that I mentioned, that is most impressive for me. Thank you very much. And maybe I would come over and see your center sometime. I would love to. I missed visiting during Tech Forums meeting, but I would love to see that.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, all are welcome to visit Exploratory. We are open all the day. So if it is possible, we can have a special day for Tech Forum members, and those who are interested, you can bring your friends, your relatives. That is most welcome. And as Vijay sir has rightly mentioned, we are here to teach how to learn. And as he has mentioned, it's rarely it happens that you teach how to learn, because it's only teaching. It's normally a one-way communication. I'll share just a small experience of mine.